To celebrate 40 years of Microsoft Flight Sim, a massive update has been released. Of course, many of you will have been familiarising yourselves with this update over the last 24 hours. I certainly have been. First of all, a big thank you to the thousands of you that tuned into my streams yesterday taking a look at it. But regardless, in today's video we're talking about every single aircraft that's been introduced for free on both PC and Xbox as part of Sim Update 11 or the 40th anniversary update. Let's get right into it. Okay, so some of these aircraft I've completed full flights with, some of them I've just looked briefly at, so I'm sort of going to keep it short and sweet, just giving you my thoughts and showcasing these aircraft off. I'll try and give them a minute each. We'll start off with the Airbus A310-300. Now this was made by Innie Simulations. In my opinion, it's fantastic. It's a great aircraft to fly. Sounds are beautiful, if not a bit loud, but it's an older aircraft. What can you expect? The downfall is that if you fly this aircraft on Xbox, then you are somewhat limited because there's an enhancement pack for PC users only that adds a fully modelled cabin that even has features such as working seatbelt signs and in-flight entertainment screens showing you flight statistics. Unfortunately, Xbox doesn't have access to that. Same with liveries as well. There's plenty of liveries that you can download for this aircraft if you're on PC via Innie Manager, but not for Xbox just yet. Negative stuff aside, it's a really good aircraft in my opinion. Textures in the cockpit are wonderful. I really love the older CRT screens. They've been modelled really well. Some internal textures are blurry, but to be fair, on the whole, as I said, they're very good. Same with external, good external textures as well until the point where you get very up close, but that's just Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft for you as a whole normally. Performance isn't the best, but it certainly isn't the worst, and it is a study level aircraft at the end of the day, so you do have to learn it. It isn't just the case of hopping in the cockpit and pressing one or two buttons. You might have to sit there for a while, especially if you're unfamiliar with Airbus systems. I'd probably give this one an 8 out of 10 in my opinion so far. Now moving over to the DC-3. This was worked on by Aeroplane Heaven and I have to say it's absolutely beautiful. I love the DC-3. What stands out here once again is sounds. Sounds are awesome, but also vibrations in the cockpit. They've been modelled really well. Sadly, this falls to the case as well of the fact that if you're on PC, you can download an enhancement pack. Luckily, it's not as big of a difference as it is on Xbox. There's plenty of liveries included on both platforms, but the enhancement pack here only adds 4K textures on the outside, which, to be fair, unless you've really got a high resolution screen, or if you're really getting up close to it, you're not really going to notice the difference. The DC-3 is one of those aircraft that everyone seems to love, and to be fair, Aeroplane Heaven have done an absolutely fantastic job here. Now we'll quickly move over to the Wright Flyer. This is a plane that I would not recommend flying transatlantic with. It doesn't get up for very long, but seeing as it's the first heavier than air powered manned aircraft to ever fly in the world, you can see why. I mean, I've probably managed to get it up for a maximum of a minute or so, and I think that was the first time I was flying with it. It's a good laugh, but at the end of the day, this one is just a bit of fun, of course, brought in for the history of it. Now, moving over to the Spirit of St. Louis, this is probably the most challenging aircraft on this list. I haven't managed to successfully land this aircraft yet, simply because you cannot see at the front, so you sort of have to side slip down to the runway, which isn't the easiest in this aircraft anyway. Of course, the Spirit of St. Louis was used by Charles Lindbergh for his transatlantic crossing. This was developed in partnership with Blue Mesh and the Smithsonian Museum, the Ryan NYP Spirit of St. Louis. Now moving over to the next aircraft, we'll take a look at this list. It's the biggest aircraft, or one of the biggest aircraft in the world up until recently. The Hughes H4 Spruce Goose. Now this is a seaplane and my goodness, it's impressive. Now in real life, of course, it only flew once, but now millions of you will be flying it in Microsoft Flight Sim. Now once again, this is sort of an aircraft that's a good laugh. Unless you're really into this plane, I don't think many people will be flying around with it for too long, just simply because it's too big. But it's great to see it in Microsoft Flight Sim. I was flying in formation with this aircraft on a stream last night, and that was something else. Now moving over to the de Havilland Beaver. This aircraft was developed in partnership with Blackbird Simulations. I have to say, it is a great little seaplane. There is a conventional version, but I've only taken a look at the seaplane, so it's the only one I can comment on. The cockpit textures especially really stand out here. Really well done. And there's some nice little features as well, such as even an EFB in the cockpit, or it's more likely a smartphone. But it's just stuff like that that sets it apart. You've got to remember that these are all for free on both PC and Xbox. So stuff like that really does improve the sim for a lot of people. And to be fair, if you fly on Xbox as well, this may be your first interaction with an EFB as part of this update, because of course they were introduced on the A310 and the Beaver. We've got a few more fixed-wing aircraft to go through, so we've got the Curtiss JN4 Jenny. Once again, this is a very early day aircraft. It was used as a World War I trainer, and as you can see, certainly looks like one. Really nice cockpit detailing, really good sound, very, very interesting flight model. It's sort of light and heavy at the same time. Not really any complaints here, it's not personally an aircraft of my choice, but if you're a history nut, it may be your cup of tea. Now, our final powered fixed-wing aircraft in this list is the Grumman Goose. This was a 1930s luxury airliner with, of course, amphibious capability. I say luxury, but you go in the back and you might question that, but for the time, it was really something else. In Microsoft Flight Sim, it's an interesting aircraft to fly. Of course, if you were in Flight Sim X, you might be familiar with it. It's definitely a very good step up. I did do the world's shortest flight from it, from Philadelphia Seaport to Philadelphia International Airport. And I absolutely failed at landing with it, so you won't be seeing that. Now moving over to helicopters, of course, this is something very big. First off, we've got the Bell 407. Now the thing is with helicopters, people have been saying how difficult they are to fly. Admittedly, that is the case if you've never flown a helicopter on Microsoft Flight Sim before, or if you're trying to fly one with a controller. They aren't the easiest things to fly. Luckily for me, I have used helicopters on Microsoft Flight Sim before with external applications, so it hasn't been a massive step up for me, although I still struggle to land without heavily hitting the ground. Anyway, we've got two of them. We've got the Bell 407 and we've got the Capri G2. Now the Bell 407, here you can see me take it around for a flight over the Isle of Wight. Really cool aircraft. Personally, I find this a bit more difficult to fly compared to the Capri G2. Maybe something to do with its size. And then moving over to the Capri G2, this is a tiny little helicopter. But the story behind it's really cool in terms of how the Sobo are working on it. They've literally got a Capri G2 with a Microsoft Flight Sim livery in real life now, which is very cool. In Microsoft Flight Sim, it's a joy to fly, if not very nimble, very little. But I do recommend starting out on this helicopter and watching some YouTube tutorials if you want to learn to fly helis. If you're flying with a controller, I've heard it is very difficult. Now finally, moving over to gliders, we've got two of them, both made by the same manufacturers in real life. To kick it off, we've got the 1001E Neo by Flight Sim Studios. This is a two-seater glider. While filming this video and filming these parts, I just sat there very relaxed, picking up some thermals off the side of mountains. It is a really good experience. Very silent, very relaxing. I would recommend it. And then of course, we've got the LSA 18, also by Flight Sim Studios. As you can see, this is a bit smaller. This is a one-seat glider. And I did have a go at getting towed up into the air by a Cessna 172. That's quite difficult actually, but there is training missions for that, so I would recommend you do them. All in all, gliders in Microsoft Flight Sim, fantastic part of aviation that is often overlooked by most people, but I would recommend it if you just want to relax. All in all, it's been a fantastic update, and I hope you've enjoyed this quick little showcase of all the aircraft we've got with this update. What's my favourite one? Well, it would have to be the Airbus A310. The only issue with that is there is a few low quality textures here and there, and performance could probably be improved, but aside from that, it's a very nice airliner. There we go guys, from me today. I'll see you around. Thank you so much for all the support over the last few days on my channel. Be sure to check out my Amazon affiliate links for all the stuff I use to fly, film and edit. I'll see you around. Bye bye.